Though that's exactly what occurred, I never thought a phone call could cause my life to flip around. Chicago's beautiful fall afternoon saw my phone light turn on with an odd number. Though I almost disregarded it, something urged me to respond. When I did, the other end's voice was rather clear. Years had gone by, yet it was Samantha. "It's Isabella," she said, her voice laden with a strange blend of formality and something I couldn't quite identify. "Isabella," I said, striving for a consistent tone. "What's going on?" My estranged sister Isabella had phoned to inform us our grandmother had died. Though the news itself was startling, her voice made it very evident she had a secret goal. "I just wanted to let you know," she continued, her voice faintly mocking. "I am sure you are busy with your modest life." She seemed to be grinning across the phone, practically audible. Her comments stung, but I tried not to show. "Appreciated you informing me. I'll get ready to visit." It was the memories they pulled up, not only her words, that stung. Isabella grew up always the golden child. She seemed to have our father's favor and a particular appeal that would have things fall into place for her. Regarding myself, I was usually cast in the shade. Though I tried my best to shine, my efforts seemed to go unnoticed. After she had taken David from me years ago, Isabella and I hadn't communicated much. I had severed relationships with her and, hence, with the rest of my family. It was about the unfair treatment I had always felt, not only about the betrayal. David Parker was the love of my life. He had been my fiancé. We had a future planned together. That was until Isabella, with her manipulative charm, came into the picture. David had left me for her, and I had been devastated. It wasn't just a broken relationship. It was a betrayal that left scars. Our family had always been fractured. Our father, stern and unyielding, had favored Isabella for her resemblance to him. My mother, although caring, was often caught in the middle. She tried to show support, but it was clear that Isabella had always been the preferred child. After the breakup, I chose a different path. I left my job as a school administrator to focus on raising my daughter, Lily. John, my husband, was a supportive tech executive who loved me for who I was. We had a cozy home in the suburbs and a life that, while modest, was filled with love. Lily, our 6-year-old daughter, was a bright spot in our lives. She had a passion for drawing and even had a popular YouTube channel where she shared her artwork with the world. Despite the success in my personal life, the call from Isabella brought back a wave of old emotions. The thought of returning to the family home for the funeral filled me with apprehension. I hadn't been there in years, and the memories were bittersweet. Our grandmother had always been a beacon of kindness in our family. She was the one person who had supported me unconditionally. Her death marked the end of an era, and now, with Isabella's call, it felt like I was being dragged back into a world I had tried to leave behind. I spent the next few days preparing for the trip. The thought of seeing Isabella again filled me with a mix of dread and anticipation. It was not just about the funeral. It was about facing the family dynamics that had shaped so much of my life. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Isabella's call than just the announcement of our grandmother's passing. When the day of the funeral arrived, I found myself standing in front of the old family home. The house looked exactly as I remembered it, unchanged and yet somehow different. It was as if the walls held the echoes of our childhood, the echoes of laughter and fights, of dreams and disappointments. Inside, the atmosphere was heavy with grief and nostalgia. I saw familiar faces, some filled with sorrow and others marked by hidden agendas. As I moved through the crowd, I caught sight of Isabella. Her eyes scanned the room with a practiced indifference. She was surrounded by people who seemed to hang on her every word, her charm as potent as ever. I watched her with a sense of unease. Despite the years and the distance, it felt like we were still locked in the same old struggle. Isabella's presence was a stark reminder of the family dynamics that had always been a part of my life. In the middle of the ceremony, as the eulogies were being delivered, Isabella managed to corner me. "Samantha," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, "it's been a while." I forced a smile in return. "Yes, it has. How have you been?" "Oh, she replied, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Life has been interesting." I could sense the undercurrent in her words, the same old rivalry that had never truly faded. As I looked at her, I realized that this reunion was not just about mourning our grandmother. It was about confronting the past, the betrayals, and the choices that had shaped both of our lives. Little did I know that this encounter would set the stage for revelations that would challenge everything I thought I knew about my sister and our family. The days leading up to the funeral were filled with tension and unresolved feelings. I tried to focus on my family, John, Lily, and our daily routines, but it was impossible to ignore the looming reunion with Isabella and the family I had distanced myself from. The familiar yet painful echoes of the past were all too real. On the day of the funeral, the air was thick with grief and unresolved emotions. The family home was filled with relatives and acquaintances, all paying their respects. The house, with its worn charm, seemed to watch over us like an old friend holding secrets. The walls felt heavy with the weight of past arguments, laughter, and hidden truths. As I entered the living room, I felt Isabella's eyes on me. Her presence was as imposing as ever, her polished exterior masking the deep-seated rivalry that had always existed between us. It wasn't long before she approached me again, her smile now more genuine, but still carrying an edge. "I've been meaning to catch up," Isabella said, her voice carrying a note of curiosity. "It's been a while since we've had a chance to talk." I forced a smile, trying to keep my emotions in check. "Yes, it has. How have things been for you?" "Oh, Isabella replied with a wave of her hand. "Busy but good. I'm sure you've heard from the family about how things have been for me." I nodded, though I wasn't entirely sure what she was referring to. The last I had heard from our parents, Isabella was living a life of luxury in Los Angeles. The stories I heard seemed to paint a picture of success and perfection, but I knew better than to take them at face value. During the wake, Isabella made a point of flaunting her perceived success. She spoke of her life in Los Angeles, her upscale lifestyle, and her supposed achievements. It was as though she was trying to outshine everyone, to prove that her life was better than mine. I watched her with a mix of curiosity and irritation. I knew that beneath her confident facade lay a tangled web of lies and manipulations. It was hard to ignore how she spoke about David Parker, my former fiancé and now her ex-husband. Her casual mentions of him and her attempts to show how unaffected she was by their failed marriage felt like salt in an old wound. David had once been the center of my world. We had been planning a future together until Isabella, with her cunning and charm, had stolen him away. The betrayal had left me heartbroken and disillusioned. Seeing Isabella flaunt her life so casually was a painful reminder of the hurt I had tried to move past. I decided to confront Isabella about the past, hoping to find some closure. As the crowd began to thin out, I pulled her aside into a quiet corner of the house. "Isabella, can we talk?" I asked, trying to keep my tone calm. She looked at me, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Of course. What's on your mind?" "I need to understand why," I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. "Why did you have to take David from me? What was it that made you think you could just take him away?" Isabella's expression shifted from false cheerfulness to something colder, more calculating. "Samantha, it's not about taking anything. David and I had our own connection. You just didn't see it." You manipulated him, I said, my voice rising with emotion. You knew how much I loved him. She shrugged nonchalantly. David made his own choices. You have to move on, Samantha. Life doesn't wait for anyone. Her dismissive attitude was infuriating. You never understood, did you? It wasn't just about David. It was about how you always seemed to have everything handed to you while I was left struggling. Isabella's face hardened. Don't blame me for your shortcomings. We all have our battles. Maybe if you had been more assertive, things would have been different. Her words felt like a stab in the dark, hitting all the old wounds that had never fully healed. I wanted to lash out, but I took a deep breath, trying to stay composed. This isn't just about David. It's about our family, the way things have always been stacked against me. Before Isabella could respond, I was interrupted by the arrival of some distant relatives. I had no choice but to step away, the confrontation unresolved. The rest of the evening was a blur of faces and condolences, but my mind was occupied with thoughts of the past and the unresolved issues between Isabella and me. The next day, as the funeral came to a close, I felt a sense of both relief and apprehension. The family dynamics were as tangled as ever, and I knew that there was more to uncover. Isabella's perfect life was beginning to crack, and I was determined to see the truth come to light. I left the funeral with a heavy heart, but a renewed sense of purpose. There was more to the narrative, and I was ready to squarely confront it. The confrontation had prepared me to expose the whole degree of the lies and deceptions that had molded our lives. It had set the stage for more discoveries. The days after the funeral were a strange quiet. Seeking clarity amid the tumult, I found myself repeatedly going back over my confrontation with Isabella. The family's fundamental problems were obviously far from fixed. Though much valued, my mother's apologies did not help to heal the years-long division. My anchor through this turbulent period was John and Lily. They knew I was upset, but instead of probing into my problems, they chose to soothe me. Lily kept giving her heart to her YouTube channel, sharing her drawings with the world, driven by her pure curiosity. Her delight was a lighthouse among the shadows. The next chapter of this story started not long ago. Ever the drama queen, Isabella lightly teased me on social media. Her sarcastic posts suggested that my life was boring and meaningless, while nevertheless promoting herself as the model of success. Seeing her try to minimize my enjoyment in such a public manner was aggravating. Lily's YouTube channel turned into a weapon in this fight then. Lily and I decided one evening, following a particularly nasty post from Isabella, it was time to use her platform for more than just exhibition of her drawings. Focusing on the good things in our lives and gently confronting the lies Isabella was disseminating, I helped Lily produce a film refuting her lies. Though on the surface benign, the video included enough precise allusions to make it abundantly evident that we knew of Isabella's attempts at undermining us. It took off right away, and both Lily's and Isabella's comment sections were overflowing with responses. People started to recognize Isabella's front for what it was, an elaborate mask covering secrets and deceptions. Isabella's reputation collapsed after the video went viral. The social media backlash was swift and harsh. Comments pointed out the discrepancies in her stories and questioned her integrity. The spotlight she had so carefully crafted was now exposing her vulnerabilities. Meanwhile, Isabella's personal life began to unravel in parallel. David, struggling with the public fallout from our confrontation and the negative attention surrounding his and Isabella's failed marriage, made a significant error at work. It led to his dismissal from his position as a software engineer. The professional and personal pressure became too much for him, and he fell into a deep spiral of self-doubt. Unable to cope with the financial and emotional strain, Isabella made a drastic decision. She filed for divorce, severing the final ties with David. Their son James became a casualty of this turmoil, and due to Isabella's unstable situation, he was placed into a care facility, a stark contrast to the privileged life she had once flaunted. The family dynamics were shifting rapidly. My mother, who had always been more sympathetic to me, approached me with a heartfelt apology for the past. She admitted that her favoritism towards Isabella had been a mistake, and she acknowledged the hurt it had caused. "I'm sorry for everything, Samantha," she said, her eyes filled with regret. "We should have done better by you. I see now how much pain we've caused." I appreciated her words, but the scars of the past were not easily healed. I chose to maintain a distant but cordial relationship with her, focusing on what truly mattered: my family's happiness and well-being. In the midst of these revelations, John and I decided to take a break from the chaos. We planned a joyful outing to an amusement park, a chance for Lily to enjoy herself and for us to reconnect as a family. It was a reminder of the simple joys and the love we shared. The trip was everything we needed, a day filled with laughter and bonding. It reinforced the strength of our family and highlighted the content life we had built together. It was a much-needed respite from the drama, and it reminded me of the importance of moving forward with love and support. As we enjoyed the day, I realized that while the past had its shadows, the future held the promise of light. With Isabella's downfall and the family's apologies, I felt a sense of closure. The journey was far from over, but for now I could focus on cherishing the present and looking forward to a brighter future. The weeks after our trip to the amusement park brought a profound sense of calm. My life, once shaken by familial discord, was finding its equilibrium again. Looked around at my little family, I realized how much we had grown through all the trials. Isabella's downfall was a hard pill to swallow, but it was a reminder of the destructive power of envy and manipulation. Her failed attempts to belittle my life had only served to bring her own downfall into the spotlight. The divorce, the loss of her son to a care facility, and her diminishing reputation were harsh consequences of the path she had chosen. David, once a part of my life and now a figure of past regrets, faced his own set of challenges. His dismissal from his job had left him struggling to find his footing. Yet despite everything, there was a sense of detachment on my part. My focus had shifted entirely to my own family and the life we had worked so hard to build. John and I continued to nurture our relationship, finding strength in each other. Our daughter, Lily, thrived in her creative endeavors. Her YouTube channel remained a beacon of joy and positivity, helping to distract from the negativity that had surrounded us. Watching her grow and flourish was a constant reminder of what really mattered. One day, I received a letter from my mother. In it, she expressed her sorrow for the way things had unfolded and asked for forgiveness. Her apology was heartfelt, but I knew that mending our relationship would take time. I responded with kindness, acknowledging her regret while emphasizing the importance of moving forward. Our family dynamics had been altered permanently, but the experience had also brought clarity. My parents' favoritism towards Isabella and the subsequent fallout had taught me invaluable lessons about resilience and forgiveness. It was clear that healing from these wounds required more than just time. It required understanding and a willingness to let go of past grievances. In the quiet moments of reflection, I understood that the pain of the past had forged a stronger bond within my own family. John, Lily, and I were more connected than ever, and our shared experiences had deepened our appreciation for one another. We found solace in our daily routines and the small moments that brought us joy. As summer turned to fall, I began planning a new project, one that would honor the lessons learned and the family we had become. I started a community initiative focused on helping families navigate conflicts and build stronger relationships. It was a means of transforming my experiences into something good by helping and guiding others, possibly confronting same difficulties. Looking back, I realized how far we had gone from those stormy days. The confrontation at our grandmother's burial, the later disclosures, and the social media conflicts had all resulted in a great change. Though it was a warning story, Isabella's narrative also proved the power of my own will and the need of continuing with love. I closed the last chapter of the narrative and felt closed as well. Though difficult, the trip had also been instructive. There was great potential ahead, and I was ready to welcome it open heart-wise. Ultimately, it was the love of my family and the lessons discovered that had helped me along. Lily's laughter illuminating our days, John at my side, and the community initiative under progress let me realize that we had the future to mold. Looking forward, I carried with me the assurance that our family's resilience and solidarity would lead us